Vroom, 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 vroom. Well, that didn't work. This is the new second generation ZE1 Nissan Leaf. It's got a motor, not an engine, and batteries instead of a fuel tank. It's all electric and it's our first EV. I'm excited and a little bit curious. So why don't we head somewhere where I'm less likely to get in trouble and take a closer look. In Australia, the 2019 Nissan Leaf is only available in a single specification. And whereas the original first generation ZE0 Nissan Leaf started at $46,990, this sleeker, more powerful and more range-happy ZE1 kicks off at $49,990. Finished in magnetic red, the new Leaf ain't a bad looking car, and actually quite like some of the details on the thing, which we'll have a look at in a second. Starting up the front, and the car comes standard with automatic auto leveling LED headlights and LED daytime running lights. Under there, we can also see comes standard with these front fog lights. A highlight of the front end is the Leaf's trademark V-Motion grille, highlighted by this chrome strip on the outer here, this cool gloss black accent. And if you look closely, you can see what Nissan calls the clear blue 3D mesh, which you can see in that grille area there on either side of the Nissan badge. And if you look closely, just hiding under there is your front camera. If we get down even lower and have a look sneakily, you'll see that all of this is an open intake under the front there. And if you have a close look, you can actually see some cooling system there to keep the batteries cool. If we have a look right underneath the car, you can see the supercar-like flat underfloor to also help reduce aero drag. That's pretty cool. Popping back up, and speaking of which, haha, love it when it works. The little flap you can see at the front there, that is the access point to your rapid charging plug on the left and your normal home plug, 24 volt plug there. That's the one we've been using most of while we've had the car, but the rapid charging obviously increases the speed at which you can recharge your batteries. Cool little thing in the nose there. Moving down the car, you can see we've got these heated wing mirrors here, body color with plastic there, and they've got integrated indicators on there as well. And if we have a look down the door, you can see our zero emission badging, and there's quite a bit of this on the car. Keeping the profile look going, you can see this cool gloss black quarter panel here on the back, which leads into this gloss black rear spoiler, which we'll have a look at in a second. And that helps the Leaf have this sort of floating roof design that designers like talking about. Rear privacy glass is also standard on the Leaf, as are, if we take a step back, these 17-inch aerodynamically designed wheels, and they are wrapped in 215/50 Goodyear efficient grip tires. And if we have a look inside the wheels, you'll see that we have disc brakes, front and rear. Moving to the back of the car, and I'm a really big fan of these boomerang style tail lights. They look quite cool. As I mentioned before, that gloss black rear wing, the integrated rear spoiler there looks quite cool. And I do really like this gloss black tailgate detail here. We've got our Leaf badge on one side, our Nissan badge in the middle, and our zero emission badge on the right hand side. And if we have a look just under that, there's your rear camera there, and that with the front camera as well as two small cameras underneath the wing mirrors help with the around view monitor. Something I really like as well, I know it's an electric vehicle, but check out this rear diffuser. I really like the blue strip that's along there, but the plastic diffuser looks quite cool. Got your rear fog light there as well, and that obviously helps with aero, drag coefficient, all that exciting stuff. Inside the Leaf, and it's not a bad cabin, but it's, as you'll see, just a sort of strange mix So first of all, let's have a look at these heated partial leather seats. So both driver and front passenger are leather. They've got this cool blue stitching, as you can see here, and this nice fabric there, and then leather on the inners, and they look quite good. They're reasonably comfortable. They are manually adjustable though, both driver and front passenger, and no matter what you do, you can't seem to get that driver's seat any lower. It's just a very high driving position, unfortunately. While we're here, we can also have a look at these pretty cool Leaf floor mats. They're branded, they've got more blue stitching, which I like as well. And again, strangely, you've got your two plain rubber pedals here, your brake and your accelerator. Hopefully you guys are familiar with those. If you look in the corner, we actually have a foot brake in the Australian specification Nissan Leaf. Got a little foot brake there, which also means that you don't actually really have a footrest. If we jump in, you can see that that blue stitching detail continues along the dash, which again is nice and actually flows onto the flat-bottomed leather multifunction steering wheel as well. If I move the seat a little further back, you can see that while you do get a reasonably comfortable leather steering wheel, which is a good thing, if we undo the lever, you'll find that you can move it up and down, but it's not telescopic. There is plenty of other gear though, with a 7-speaker premium Bose stereo paired to an 8-inch central colour touchscreen with satellite navigation, DAB+ digital radio, and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. There's a basic analog speedometer, but this is teamed with a multi-information 7-inch colour TFT display, allowing drivers to scroll through pages of data, including a power meter, estimated charge time, battery temperature, battery capacity, economy, trip info, tyre pressure, and even the state of the chassis. Traffic sign recognition is also part of the package, along with a forward collision warning and autonomous emergency braking, a lane departure warning and blind spot monitoring, and an around view monitor and front and rear parking sensors. Storage isn't too bad. These door pockets are quite narrow, but you can fit a drink in the front there. They are all plastic though, so not felt lined or rubber lined. You've got two more cup holders here, again not adjustable, just plastic, no rubber padding or anything like that. A little spot here for your keys, which is helpful. What's really good is this little rubber lined section here. You've got this little cubby, which is ideal for mobile phones and the like. And you've also got, if we have a look here, a 12-volt plug outlet there, your USB slot there, and an auxiliary input there as well. The center console bin gets more of the blue stitching, and it's quite well padded. It's quite nice. It's just not terribly big. And again, if we have a look inside, just all hard plastic, not great in terms of overall size, but at least it gives you something handy. What is good though is you get quite a big glove box in the Nissan Leaf. There's plenty of storage space in there, and the thing can even swallow this nicely presented owner's manual with the little red Nissan there, which I quite like. And it's got to be pretty big because look at the thickness of that owner's manual. That's a lot of reading to get through, but luckily that all fits neatly enough in there. What is disappointing is some of the switch gear, things like these switches for the heated seats. They feel a bit cheap and plasticky. You've got more of that up here for the interior light. That also goes for some of the scratchy dash top material here that continues on the doors here as well. Not that nice. The chrome door handles here feel a little bit cheap, and again it's all hard and plasticky in there, but the piece de resistance are these 1990s spec power window switches with only the driver having auto up down. If we have a look in the back, and obviously the Leaf isn't a huge car, but you've got reasonable space in the back. If we have a look at the seats, you've got two outboard seats that are Isofix compatible, which is good. More leather, more of that nice felt material here as well, and again more of the blue stitching that you can see along the seat, which is a nice detail, plus more blue stitching on the floor mats. What isn't great though is because the batteries live under the floor in the Leaf, that does sort of compromise legroom a bit. And if we jump in the back, don't know if you can see, but that seating position means that my knees are quite high. I don't have a whole lot of under thigh support, so it's okay. Toe room though, also a little bit squeezy back here. If you have a look here, you can also see this very large center floor hump, which given the Leaf isn't all-wheel drive and doesn't have a big transfer case under the floor, it's sort of a bit of a shame that it loses out some leg room there. Space, as I said though, not too bad, and the rear seats are, thanks to this little switch here, also heated. Why Nissan decided to put the switch on the side of the passenger seat, I'm not sure, but that's where the switch is. There are no rear air vents, which again is a little bit of a miss for me. You do get mat pockets for both seats, and if we have a look at the door pocket, you get a bit of space for one drink, and that's about it. Again, more gloss black, which isn't a bad touch. Switches, chrome door handles, scratchiness, and again, scratchy on the doors there as well. On the plus side, you do have little coat hooks, hanger hooks, you have grab handles, and you have an interior light, although as you can see, it sits quite far forward of the rear. Better still, these rear seats are 60/40 split fold with a release there and a release here, which means you can increase the Leaf's boot capacity from 405 litres to 1,176 litres. Even with the increased capacity though, you can already see there's a couple of issues. First of all, it's quite a step between the boot floor and the back of the seats there, which isn't ideal. And thanks to the Bose stereo taking up a bit more space in the back, we've got even less practicality in the boot. You may have also seen as well, we've got a variety of cables here. That's your normal home plug, wall socket, 240 volt jobby right there, and then this is meant to be for some of your other charging options that you might have around. So you've got a couple of cables in the boot. Now there's also no luggage hooks, which is a bit of a shame, but you do get some tie down points on either side. And just when we look under the floor for a space saver spare tire, you can see that there isn't one, and there isn't one under the floor because we have to go back underneath the car, and voila, there is our space saver spare tire that lives underneath the floor. That would not be a fun thing to try and get out, I can imagine. The Leaf's 40 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery might indeed live under the floor, but its electric motor, or e-Powertrain, most definitely still lives under the bonnet. Producing 110 kilowatts of power between 3,283 and 9,795 RPM and 320 Newton meters of torque from 0 to 3,283 RPM, the ZE1 Leaf's power unit is a decent step up from the first generation Leaf's 80 kilowatts of power and 280 Newton meters of torque. It's also enough to hustle the somewhat frumpy 1594 kilogram Leaf from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in a very quiet 7.9 seconds and onto a top speed of 144 kilometers an hour. Anyway, we've got range and we've got charge, so let's go for a drive. Believe it or not, electric vehicles, electric cars are nothing new. They've actually been around since the early to mid 1800s. And in fact, the first ever manned vehicle to drive on the surface of the moon, yep, it was an electric car, the Lunar Roving Vehicle, back in July of 1971. And that was developed by Boeing and a subsidiary of General Motors. For Nissan, its first EV was the Tama, which launched back in 1947. It had a maximum cruising range of 65 kilometers per charge and an impressive top speed of 35 kilometers an hour. Now it's true the 2019 Leaf can't quite match the likes of Tesla in terms of outright performance and overall range, but it is doing a lot better than the Tama. For those who don't know, the Leaf first launched back in Japan and the US in 2010, and it became the world's first all-electric, zero tailpipe emission, 5-door family hatchback ever to be produced by a major manufacturer. In Australia, we didn't get the Leaf until 2012, which is particularly strange given the casting plant where a number of parts and accessories for the Leaf are actually made is based right here in Melbourne. When it comes to driving the Leaf, it really is options galore. You have 4 different drive modes to choose from. There's D for maximum performance, there's B for maximum regenerative braking, there's an eco mode which will limit outputs and potentially see an energy saving of up to 10%, and you can combine things, putting the car in B plus eco mode, giving you the maximum amount of kilometers for the charge that you have. This can see savings by up to 30%, and it's totally my pick. Part of why it's my pick is because it maximizes your driving range, and for me, that makes sense. In Europe, Nissan claims an indicative driving range of 270 kilometers off a full charge. In Australia though, that claim gets bumped up to 315 kilometers. That said, the Japanese manufacturer does say, actual real-world driving range may vary depending on factors such as battery age and condition, driving style, traffic conditions, weather conditions, any accessories fitted, and vehicle load. Another reason why I like this combination so much is because of how well the system works with something Nissan calls e-pedal. Flick this little toggle down here and you activate the e-pedal. And that means that basically for the majority of driving, you don't need to use the brake pedal. Let me explain. With the e-pedal activated, if I want the car to go, I squeeze on the accelerator and the car goes. But as soon as I ease off the accelerator, the car not only naturally decelerates, it's actually braking, it's slowing itself down by effectively using the electric motor in reverse. It's working to recapture and store some of that energy used when I'm slowing down the car, and it means I can drive with one pedal. Look at that! You lift off, slows down, get back on it, and you drive. You don't have to use the brake, and it's really, really cool, and I really like it. In terms of transmission, the Leaf doesn't have a traditional gearbox. It has a single speed reduction gear. What that means is without a gearbox in here, you don't have to worry about all the delays and hesitations and even noises that can come from having a conventional transmission, whether it's an automatic, a DSG, a DCT, or even a manual transmission. With this single gear, you ease off, the car slows down, you accelerate, it takes off. It means that provided those inputs on the accelerator pedal are smooth, both on and off, your driving experience is, well, silky smooth. And when you do want to accelerate, that almost instantaneous power with no gear changes, the thing legitimately just takes off. The Leaf's electric power steering system isn't exactly what I'd call a highlight. It's fairly light and a little bit disconnected, but it points the car where you want it to go, and at 2.7 turns lock to lock, it's sharp enough and responsive enough to help you around town and even be a bit of fun out on twisty roads like we're on today. You may not think it, but EV or not, with direct steering, a compliant ride, and near on instantaneous acceleration, out on a twisty road, the Leaf is a fun little jigger. What do I love most about the 2019 Nissan Leaf though? 2 things. 1, you hear that? It's super, super quiet in here. Now, don't get me wrong, I love cars. I love V8s, petrol, diesel, turbo, naturally aspirated, even rotaries. Even rotaries, all right? I love cars, but how quiet this thing is, it's magic. I could totally get used to it. I love it. The second thing I love is what the Nissan Leaf represents. Sure, the Leaf proudly holds the title as the world's best-selling electric car, outselling the likes of the Tesla Model S, Model 3, BMW i3, and even the uber-cute Renault Zoe. More than that though, it's proof positive that it can be done. You can have a practical, comfortable and affordable electric car that doesn't have to feel scarily different to a conventional car with an internal combustion engine. The reality is from 2020 onwards, we're going to see more and more EVs flood the market, and that's a great thing. But it's important to recognize the Leaf was first, and without it, we wouldn't have cars like Teslas, like BMW i3s and all the others that are coming to market. The sad bit really is where Australia sits in all of this. Of the more than 410,000 Leafs sold globally, around 1,017 have been registered here in Australia. That's less than 0.25%. In 2011, we sold 11 EVs for the year in total. 11. As of the end of November 2019, we've sold 454 EVs. So we're getting there, just very, very slowly. So what I'd suggest is this. Just try one. Just drive an EV, any EV. It doesn't have to be a Nissan Leaf, and see what you think. See if it works for you. Maybe you can charge it at home. Maybe you can charge it at work. But just drive one, because there might be a chance that you actually just end up falling in love with the thing. I've still got 128 kilometers range left and my battery is at 51%. That means I'm going to keep on driving. But remember, if you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. And remember to like, follow and subscribe. See you next time.